Hey guys, what's going on to the stream? If you guys can hear me, I think it's working. I just need to probably check the audio. That'll be see if it is working. So I'm just gonna wait and see if the audio is working. But we are here for your next day thoughts. I think you guys can hear me. I think it's working. We're here with the next day thoughts. There's a few things I want to talk about. Of course, what Daniel Fark had to say after the game in that loss. Yeah, it is working. Okay, yeah. So we need to talk about a few things. Of course, what Daniel Fark had to say after the loss is something that we have to talk about. And then there's a few other things I do want to talk about, which is like players, certain performances, uncomfortable conversations about a certain winger. And it's not Aronson. That's I mean, it's Okafor. Something we have to talk about with the goalkeeper, because is Perry better than Darlow? I mean, we'll get into the signings and how we spent 30 million on 3 defenders, and all of them aren't better than what we already had in BO 15 million, James Justin 10 million, and Bornell 5 million. So 30 million on 3 players that aren't good enough to get into the starting 11. So that's crazy. We spent 30 million on defenders that couldn't get into the starting 11 because they're just not probably good enough. Like BO, I get it's early, he's only just arrived, first season and all that, but still, I just don't think he's good enough. I don't think BO is good enough for Leeds United in the Premier League. I don't think he's good enough defensively, and maybe in a different system he would work. Like, that is a thing. Maybe in a different system he will work. I'm trying to get the chat up at the moment and not really working at all. But yeah, maybe in a different system it would work, because maybe in a different system we play like a back 3, or maybe in the back 2 he's more defensive in the back 2. That could be a possibility where we do that and he's, he can defend more. I still can't get the chat up. It's not working. But yeah, I just can't get the chat up today, I guess. YouTube is not working with the chat. So yeah, but if you guys are there, make sure you do like and subscribe if you haven't already. We'll get into the start. I'm still trying to see if I can get the chat up and chat working. But yeah, we'll get into what Fark had to say after the game. That'll be the first thing we will get into. It's so annoying because I'm trying to, for some reason, the chat won't appear on my phone when I go onto the stream. So that's great. That's something that's really great job. Yeah. But yeah, I'm happy with the performance. I thought the performance was actually good, to be honest. And now the stream won't appear at all, so I don't even know if I'm still live, right? Let me just check. I'm sorry about this. This is the terrible start, because I have to just check if we're actually live, because apparently we are, but then it's not showing me that we are live, so I do not know what's happening. But yes, we are live. This is so confusing. Oh my god. Let me just see something for a second. Oh my god, this is so frustrating that this happens. Because the chat was there earlier. Before I went live, the chat was right there, and I could click on the chat. And then for some reason I changed it up, and now I can't click on the chat. So that's really confused me. But yeah, we'll let me just we'll fix this. Maybe this is why. Actually, we'll do that. Maybe I didn't do something right in the settings before we started. Yeah, we didn't probably do that properly. Oh, okay. So now the chat should be working if I can get it up. But yeah, we got a few things to talk about. We'll start off with, of course, what Daniel Fark had to say after the game. There's a few things. There was a thing that was said about Brendan Aronson, which I agree half with, because I agree that he gets all the shit when he's not been bad. Like, he's not been the worst player on the pitch in any of the games, but he seems to get all the shit and all the blame for every single loss that we have. It's always Aronson's fault. It's always Dan James would do better, Nonto would do better, blah, blah, blah. During the whole season, Dan James at the start of the season when he was starting was shit. And in this game, he was good when he came on. I mean, that's why he's probably in the thumbnail that I put. That's why he's in the thumbnail that I put up. But yeah, the chat's working. Yeah, we're here. The chat is working. Sorry about that. But yeah, there is that thing about, like, yeah. So the first thing that was said was Daniel Fark spoke about the fan that approached him at the dugout. So he didn't realize it, and this fan's a fucking idiot. Like, what are you doing now? You're not going to be able to go to any games, but that goes to another fan. The ticket goes to another fan now. Whoever gets that, congratulations, because that guy's an absolute idiot. I do not care how bad it's going. That's just an idiot. He didn't realize it was happening after the game. I didn't want the fans to be happy after a loss, which is fair. I mean, you don't want the fans to be happy after a loss, of course. We are disappointed we didn't win, of course. We have to concentrate on the performances, which is the thing you have to actually. You can't just say we lost out. We can't just say it can't just be black and white of like, well, we lost, so he's shit and he has to go. Because the performance was good against a team who are now in the top 4. We're versing a team who are now in the top 4, right? Like, Villa are in the top 4, aren't they? I'm pretty sure they're in the top 4. Well, that's what I've seen. And, like, we've lost only narrowly, and you can look at the goals that we conceded, and again, there is a conversation on which way the goals are coming from, which is actually spoken in the well, Fark does say, yeah, Villa are fourth at the moment, which is actually spoken about later. So we'll get into that. So Daniel Fark basically talked about how he didn't see it. We got to concentrate on the performances. Don't focus on the fear of the next three games either, which I agree with. Like the Man City game, we were all expecting a loss, but Chelsea and Liverpool are gettable. Liverpool right now are gettable. Chelsea are a team that, even though they're second in the league right now, they're a team who can be on it or off it. Like, they can be got at defensively. In certain games, they can be got at defensively. They've been poor in some games. You know, you watch them, and I don't feel like they've been great this season, even though they're second. But they're a team where, like, they're sometimes on it and they're sometimes off it, so they're beatable. You know, so, and of course, after the next three, they'll probably decide if Fox going to stay or go, because I don't think he'll be gone now. Daniel Farton had to say after that, we need 6 more wins with a few draws to stay up, which I agree with. I mean, I agree with before the season started. I said 10 wins. He's saying we need 9 with a couple of draws. I say 10 wins, so I say an extra win. But yeah, he's basically saying what most fans say, that we need to stay up. We still have home games against everyone around us to come. We've only played them away, so we could get the results at home. And at home, we've been very good. Like, the only 2 losses we've had are against 4th place Villa and top of the away form table Spurs. So, and both those games we were competitive as well. Like, we've actually been very, very good in our games at home against the top teams and every team in the league that we've come against. We've been good at home, which is why I still have confidence that Fark can keep us up. And our home form is going to be massive to that, which I think it would be. And I understand people saying get him out, because we're in the relegation now for the first time. But there is that little bit of me that's like, well, our home form has been very, very good. And the way we played at home, even against the top teams, has been very good. So I still don't think we should sack him yet. I think we should give him the Liverpool-Chelsea game, because they're the 2 home games I'm looking at where we can get points, and we'll probably need to save his job. But yeah, we have enough to get the points. We need to stay up. Don't really know about that. If we have the I don't know if we have the squad to get the points to stay up. I mean, Fark has to say that, right? Fark's not going to say, oh, our squad's shit, we're done for. Like, he's not going to say that. But I'm looking at the squad and I'm saying this is probably a bottom 3 Premier League squad easily. Like, it could honestly be, you know, you're looking at it and you're probably like, who's got a worse squad? Maybe Burnley. Like, on paper, you'd say Wolves have a better squad than us, even though they're probably dumb. But you look at the teams around us, West Ham, Fulham, all got better squads. He also said, brave today. I like that. Conceding too many. This is when he said, conceding too many goals down the left side. Now, I think there's things that you have to look at with that, and there's a couple of things that you have to look at, and one of those things is the winger, of course, in Noah Okafor. Because I do think on the other side, why we don't see that as much happening down the other side is because Aronson is great defensively and tracks back. Now, this is why I will get into what I'll do against Man City. You know, I'll say it. I honestly, against Man City, I just want to say this now. Against Man City, tactically, the best idea would be just full defensively, play 2 DMs in Gruev and Ampadu, play both wingers being Aronson and James, who are defensive wingers, who can defend and track back. I'd play both of them against Man City, because we're going to be just trying to hold out for a 0-0. Let's be real. So I would actually drop Okafor for the Man City game, because, you know, and then have Mecha as our outlet up top, because Mecha, for me, if the ball drops to him, he can put it in the back of the net, which he's shown this season. But yeah, as you said, Perev today, we could see too many goals down the left side. As I said, that's something we do have to look at. You know, conceding goals down the left side, which comes into play with, like, what you look at with Okafor and Goodmanson. You know, you look at both of them, and I feel like Goodmanson does get beat sometimes too easily down that side sometimes. I think Bogle does as well down the right. Like, I'm not saying he doesn't, but there is that little bit of me that's like, we seem to get him beat far too easily down the wings, especially down that wing with Goodmanson. And Okafor comes into play with that because he's not tracking back. And you watch the goal that they scored, Villa, and Malin, how the hell you say it, has so much space because Okafor hasn't tracked back. Because Okafor hasn't tracked back, when the ball gets into Malin, he has all that space in front of him, which is what happens, and then he gets the cross across and they score. So you do have to look at that about why is Okafor not tracking back. Daniel Fark, that's what we already read. Then he said, Daniel Fark on the chance about the subs. Totally okay. Everyone has an opinion. That's fair. Everyone would have different teams and different subs, which is true. Done this job a long time, and I will not be round table before every game. Brendan is not the most liked guy, which is true, even though he's not even been fucking bad this season. He's been better than half the squad in my... If I was actually going to rank the players based off performances this season, Aronson would probably be like 6th or 6th. I'd probably put him 6th. Probably 6th best player this season. maybe in that range, like middle of the top 11. Which for me, I'm looking at. And I'm like, there's some other players that we maybe need to look at more than him. I think over the course of the season so far, I'll say it quietly, but I think he's been better than Okafor. You look at all the performances, but people won't like that. He's a workhorse and makes us solid on the right side in defense, which is what I've been saying. He makes us solid defensively, and everyone will say like, "Oh, Dan James can do that job," which he can. Like Dan James can do that job, but it's not like Dan James at the start of the season was any good when he played the first 3 games and started all of them and created absolutely nothing. Same with Nonto, started the season, created absolutely nothing. So let's not act like Dan James was great when he started at the start of the season, because he was absolutely terrible. He was that bad that he's in the starting 11 for worst Premier League players this season. So that just shows you that he wasn't good this season at the start. That he's in the starting 11 for worst players in the Premier League. Like that just for me shows you that he wasn't good at the start of the season at all. If he's in the starting 11 for worst players in the Premier League based off ratings, that just proves that he hasn't been good this season when he has played. So I think it's kind of like, it's one of those things about, you watch, Dan James will start the next couple of games, and I've said I've liked Dan James. You guys have known if you watch me the last couple of seasons, especially last season, I like Dan James. But there is that thing of me that knows what Leeds fans are like, that if Dan James starts the next 4 or 5 games and is poor, and, he starts frustrating people will get on his back and be like, now Nonto needs to start on that side. It just keeps going. It keeps going, because we're in the Premier League, and in the Premier League, you're going to lose most games. This season, especially because we're going to be in a relegation battle. When we start losing, you're like, well, that must be a problem. If you change that one thing, it's gonna. No, it's. I think we need to look more defensively than we do in the attack, to be honest. And Fark does need to make some changes early. I mean, I tweeted out basically that the moment that people are pissed off about Aronson is the moment where he cut inside. He went through, basically did a nice run and then lost the ball and they counter-attacked. If you watch that run, anyone watching that live could tell you the guy was tired and needed to come off. Because the guy, he played well that game, Aronson. But he did that much that at that stage of the game, he needed to come off the pitch. And this is nothing, I don't understand why people have a go at Aronson. That's on Fark. Because Aronson's performance was actually good. But at that stage, I think it was 65th minute or something. It was like the 65th minute, I'm pretty sure. Somewhere around then. You watch him run and he's trying, but the guy looks like he looks tired. He basically looks like he needs to come off. He can't run that much more. He's out of breath. That's what he looked like. That's when you make the tactical sub and bring Dan James on. So I don't actually blame Aronson for losing the ball there. I think he had a very good performance. In that moment, he did well until he lost it. But the guy looked tired, like he needed to come off the pitch, which is why I don't put it all on him like a lot of people are doing. And that's what you have to go back to the manager on those type of things of when the guy's tired and he can barely run anymore, bring him off. I think, as I said, I think it was the 65th minute around that area, around that time of the game. Daniel Fark then went on to say Aronson, he polarizes and can be annoying, which is true because he does lose the ball a lot in a lot of games. But then again, that's because he tries stuff. He tries stuff that others don't. And that can be annoying because he's not the most strongest player, and maybe he needs to be a bit stronger at some stages, but maybe he can work on that, but probably should have worked on that in pre-season. But even for myself, because he's sometimes not straightforward and can be hectic, I also have to say what we are doing, criticizing this young man, that we don't have to do. And then he talks about mental health, which I don't understand what he's doing with that. Like, you don't have to bring up the whole mental health mental health awareness. Like, that's stupid. For me, that's just stupid to bring that up in that conversation. I understand because there's idiots in every fan base, the way they talk about players. There's idiots in every single fan base. But the normal fan base, the normal fans will criticize a performance. They won't bring up, like, stupid shit. You know what I mean? They'll criticize a performance on the pitch. And I think Aronson actually played well, as I said. I thought he was one of our better players on the pitch again. But he seems to be the reason we lose every single time he's on the pitch, which is annoying when I hear that kind of stuff, because I'm like, look at Okafor, who, in my opinion, was worse than him. Then you can look at the defenders who, again, there's moments in games where they just lose concentration and it's annoying, but people kind of turn a blind eye to that kind of stuff, and it's always Aronson. Always Aronson. And then when Dan James starts, who will be the next scapegoat? I wonder who it will be, because there's always a scapegoat every time there's someone start. There always is. Like, no matter what people want to believe, there's always a scapegoat in the team, no matter what. Whether that's Aronson. I mean, we had Bamford, who always used to got the shit, even when he played well. But the funny thing is, when Bamford used to play well and get all the shit, and now this season when DCL started, oh, he wins flick-ons. Trying to cope with the signing, like that's what confuses me, is when that kind of stuff happens, where you can tell there's agendas, and it's got nothing to do with the actual performance of the player. But I just, yeah, I don't understand why he's bringing up mental health awareness and stuff like that in that context. Like, as I said, Daniel Farke, it's on him. Should have brought him off in the 60th or 65th minute when he was tired and could barely run anymore. Instead, he leaves him on and plays him in the 10. Now, when he did that, I was fine with it, because I'm looking at that and saying, yeah, he's a bit tired. But maybe playing him in the 10, he can just release the ball quickly when he gets the ball easier, because he won't be running up and down the wing. Like, he won't have to track all the way back defensively, because Dan James will do that job when he came on. And people that say Farke doesn't have a plan B or doesn't switch it up, he's done it in, I think, 2 games this season. He's went to the 4-2-3-1, changed it back to that formation. So he's starting to, like, be more flexible. Maybe it's a bit late to do that, but he is doing that in certain games. And Aronson's the only 10 we have. I'm not having Pirro in the fucking 10. Pirro's not a Premier League player. I'm sorry, he's not good enough for the Premier League. We should have sold him before the season started. I mean, I said that we should have sold him, and then we could have had money to sign an actual striker. But people said, no, give him a chance, give him a chance. I knew he wasn't good enough. People should have saw that in the Championship when he did score goals. Most of those performances, you would say, yeah, he scored, but his performance was poor. But he scored, so you can't really hammer him. But his performances were poor when he did score, besides like 1 or 2 performances where he was actually good. And he scored and he was good. You could argue like 2 or 3 performances where he actually did that. The rest of them, his performances were shit. Alongside with him scoring. But yeah, it's annoying. Yeah, Daniel Farke then said he represents so many skills we want for Leeds United. He works his socks off, gives everything for the team, which is true. Relentless work, not perfect, which we all know that. But gives always everything, which is true. Like, there's certain players when you watch, you don't know. Like, I watch some players and I'm like, do they give 100%? Do they give 100% every game? Because I'm watching them and I'm like, sometimes it looks like they just give up half the time. Well, Aronson will never do that. Like, even if he's having the worst performance, like, he'll still try, which is why I like him as a player, because he won't just give up like some players do, in my opinion. It's more than unfair. In his last 3 performances, he was always covering 13 Ks per game, which shows you that he runs so much that, I mean, Daniel Farke should have saw that and brought him off in the 60th minute. That, again, goes back to the Daniel Farke. Which is why it's annoying when Aronson gets all the hate when it should be. Which is why it should, this is why it shouldn't be on Aronson. Like, Aronson shouldn't be getting the shit for that kind of stuff. LUFC data also put up some things. What did they put up? 5 defeats in 6 games, which, yeah, it's been 5 defeats in 6 games. Into the bottom 3. Leeds now average less than a point a game. Enjoying a minority share of possession, 47%, into the relegation spot, and tough fixtures mounting. Surely Farke is running this on positive and out of... yeah, it is bad that we've got like 47% possession this season. I don't know, I think that's the average or something, or across the season so far. We're in the relegation zone, tough games to come. Today was only the 4th time that Leeds lost a Premier League game at Ellen Road after winning at half-time. We did in 1994 to Chelsea, 2002 to Charlton, 2021 to West Ham, and 2025 now to Villa. 3 of those games were actually leading 1-0, and we lost 2-1 in it. So the last 3 times we've actually lost from a winning position was 1-0 at half-time, and we lost 2-1. So in the last 3 times that's happened, that's been the score. Daniel Farke, this is not good. Daniel Farke has the lowest Premier League points per game ratio of any Leeds manager and coach to have taken charge of over five Premier League matches with 0.92. Which you look at, and I hate people when people say things like he's got less points than Marsh, but you can tell his football's fucking better than Marsh. I'm sorry, you can tell his football's better than Marsh. And in my opinion, the Premier League's harder now than what it was then. It definitely is. Daniel Farke's Premier League managerial record, it also isn't good. 61 games, 9 wins, 10 draws, 42 losses, 42 goals, 123 conceded, 37 points, 14.8 win percentage, and a 0.61 points per game. But then I look at those stuff and you can't really base it on anything because at Norwich he had fuck all at Norwich, and we all know that you can't bring what he did at Norwich into this. Like you just can't, in my opinion. And then we get into the performances. I mean, should we talk about the free kick? I mean, the angles that I've seen from the free kick, Perry's positioning. Perry's positioning is awful. Like Perry, I don't know if I've seen worse I don't know if I've seen worse positioning from a free kick. Like it just baffles me how far over he is. You got the wall, but you should be in the middle of the goal, ready to dive that way, because most likely they are gonna shoot over the wall. That's like where most free kicks go. But the guy is standing not even in the middle of the goal, but even further over, basically leaving all the space for him just to just pop it in. Now, I have seen the replay of Rodon's jump, and Rodon looks a bit lazy when he has jumped for the ball, and maybe he should do better with the jump. But that also doesn't excuse, in my opinion, that also doesn't excuse the facts of the facts of Perry where he's standing, he's positioning. Perry's positioning for that free kick is awful. And it's just so frustrating because I look at it and I go, what the hell is he doing? Like, what is Perry doing with his positioning? Like, why is he positioning himself there? Like, why? Just please, 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 someone tell me why. Why is he positioning himself so far over? And as I said, you can look at Rodon and say he should jump higher because he looks like he kind of does. He's lazy when he jumps. He doesn't look like that. But it's awful goalkeeping positioning. Awful. And I'm not a goalkeeper, but fucking hell, watching goalkeepers, that is so far over. And I've seen the footage I saw was the one from like behind where you could see how far over he actually is, and you go, oh god. And I mean, if you watch the watch long, even when he was taking it, even when they were lining up and Morgan Rogers was going to take it, I looked at it and I'm like, it's going in. It's going in. I looked at it and I went, Perry's positioning looks awful. Like, I thought in my head, I'm like, Perry's positioning looks awful. In my head, I thought that in my head and I went, they're going to score here. Because his positioning is, as I said already, it's awful. He's almost on the other post. He's closer to the other post. It's just frustrating when you look at that. You know, you look at the signings that we've made, as I've already said. Perry, is he good enough for the Premier League? I mean, I know they weren't confident when they did sign Perry, right? They didn't know which keeper they wanted. I understand that. But, God, did we choose the worst option? Because Perry's been awful. I'm sorry. Is he Premier League level? I don't know. You know, then you look at the defenders. James Justin came in. Okay, a backup. You want a backup. You want a backup. I mean, I got this at the time. 10 million. 10 million for a backup. We could have been a bit cheaper with the backup. I understand that it's the Premier League and people on their benches have 40 million £40 million players and £30 million players on their bench. But we're newly promoted. Spending 10 million for someone who's going to be on the bench when it could have went in other positions. It could have went in the number 9, even though I think Metch has been great when he's played. And, what I've been saying have been proven probably right that Metch is the best striker at the club. But even though, like, I would have loved, right? Because we did sign Metch early, which is why I liked the signing, the early free signing. Then you don't sign 10 million on James Justin. You sign, a cheaper backup. Or you just leave Byram as the backup, honestly. Like, I know people might not like it, but I would back Byram defensively. Defensively, I would back Byram to be solid and fine in the Premier League. I think that's the part of his game that he's good at, is his defensive work. I would have rather that than spending 10 million on James Justin. Like, signing Metcha early. Good signing. And then you have that extra money to buy an actual striker so Metcha can be the backup and not Dominic Calvert-Lewin as a free again. Going into the Premier League with 2 free strikers should have been signing DCL should be the first thing that you look and go, yeah, we're going down. Because he's not a Premier League striker. People can say he is because he's been in the Premier League for seasons, but I just don't think he's a Premier League striker. Just because he's been in the Premier League doesn't mean he is a Premier League striker. He doesn't get the goals. He doesn't. As I've already talked about defensively, 30 million on a defense that don't start. B.O. James Justin, Bornell. 30 million, that is. 30 million on backups, basically, because, B.O. turns like an absolute truck. He's not quick enough for the Premier League. And, yeah, especially in a system where our fullbacks are bombing forward. We have our fullbacks that do bomb forward. When I watch that and I see our fullbacks, bombing forward and stuff, that's when I look at those performances and I go, our fullbacks are bombing forward, which is why I think BL doesn't work for us. BL works in a team that's just defensively. but we're attacking because we need, we need our fullbacks to, create. We need our fullbacks are part of our creation, and that's why BL doesn't work because he's not quick enough. He's not quick enough to play that role. Strauch, I thought, played well. I thought he actually had a good performance, which is why he stays in the team. Rodon, even though he was a bit, lazy with the jump, I think performances, he's been probably the best defender in the team. In my opinion, all season. I don't think he's had a bad performance this season. Like, I actually don't think Rodon's had a bad performance. I've liked Bogle and Goodmanson. I've liked both of them. I look at the midfield, and again, Stack. Stack is another one where questions maybe need to be asked because he either has a very, very good game or he's absolutely shit. Like, there's never I don't think there's an in-between. He's either very good or very bad. Like, I don't think he's had, like, an in-between performance. And, he did well for the goal, that we did score, getting up in the air above, Martinez and winning the header or flicking it off his back, which caused the defender, whoever it was, to clear it off the line for Mecha to tap it in. That was good. And then I look at the front line and I'm like, I like Mecha. I think he's the best striker we have and we have to rely on him because it's what we got. Then I look at the left side and I'm like, Okafor, I don't rate Nonto, and he's the other option. And I don't rate Nonto. I know he came off the bench and he was... people said he came off the bench and played well. Don't think he did. I think most of that was Dan James. Dan James is the one that actually did something. And Nonto did nothing, really. The one thing he did, guess what? He runs backwards. He managed to get through down the right side, but he ran backwards and ran around and started going... I'm like, what are you doing? Go forward. It was like the last... It was like... I think it was in added time when we had like 1 minute to go. I think we had like 1 minute to go or something. Or it was in the 90th minute. He starts going backwards. Fucking go forward. And he's on the only thing he had in attack, the only thing he did anything with was him on the right side when he's supposed to be on our left side. I don't rate Nonto that much. And then Dan James, I thought, came on and did well. But again, is that because he came off the bench versus tired legs? Maybe that's the reason his performance was good off the bench, is because he came on against tired legs. Does he do that from the start? From the start of a game, does he impact a game like that? I don't think he does. I think Dan James off the bench, and I've already said that, he's a good impact player to have. He shouldn't be a starter in the Premier League. Aronson's another player who shouldn't be a starter in the Premier League. He should be a bench option. And I think Aronson is a good bench option to have because he's someone who can come on, he can come on and play multiple positions. You can bring him on and play him on the left. You can play him on the right. You can play him in the number 10. You can play him in the 8. He can play multiple positions. So he's a good player to have on the bench if you want to, like, change formation. You bring Aronson on and move him into the 10. And it's like he's a good player to have on the bench in that respective. But then Dan James, I don't know if he's good enough to start on the right side in the Premier League because we saw him at the start of the season and he was awful. He was worse than Aronson. I know he's come back from an injury, but at the start of the season when he did start, he was worse than Aronson. I'm not going to have revisionist histories. People are going, no, he wasn't. He was. He was worse than Aronson. So I'm going into the rest of the season hoping that we can stay up at the moment, but it's worrying. Performance, everyone talks about how Aronson always loses the ball. He can't hold on to it. Well, he lost the ball 12 times this game. Okafor lost it 13 times. They didn't really do that much difference, really. Aronson had 40 touches. Okafor had 35. Okafor had 4 unsuccessful dribbles. Aronson had 1. Aronson had 5 dribbles with 1 successful. Okafor had 4 with 2. Like, it's not that much of a difference in performances, but Aronson gets all the shit from the fan base online, which is frustrating. And it's good to have, I look at Tanaka, right? This is one thing I have from Daniel Fark that I will criticize. I would have started Tanaka ahead of Stack. I just think he's a better player. I think he offers more in the press as well. Because if you watch when Tanaka came on, he actually pressed the defenders. He pressed the centre-back, and then they'll go back to the keeper, and he'll actually press the keeper. When Stack was on the pitch early on, he didn't do that. He doesn't do that. He doesn't continue the press. If they continue passing, he doesn't continue running and pressing. Where Tanaka does, he continues that press all the way back. He won't stop running. He'll continue the press. He's also very good at reading a pass, by the way. This is what I really like from Tanaka in this game. He's really good at reading a pass and stepping in front and stopping that pass from getting through to whoever it was. There was a couple of times where they played a pass into, I think it was into Watkins or Rogers, whoever, and Tanaka would just step in front of them and get the ball because he can read a pass very well, which, I like that. But yeah, it is frustrating. We go against Man City next week in a game where we all think we're going to lose. We probably will lose. It is frustrating the way this season's gone so far, you could say, because we're in the relegation zone. Could say we should really be 14, 15, because you look at the Bournemouth game, should be 3 points. You look at the Fulham game, should be a point. We should have 4 extra points, really. I think we've had good performances, especially at home. As I've said, the only 2 losses now that we've had at home are Spurs, where I thought we played well and we warranted a draw, and this game against Villa, where I think we were good in the very good in the first half. But in the end, the game probably, if it was a draw, people would have said, yeah, that's a fair result as well. So you look at both of those, and you're like, both the games at home that we have lost, you could argue should have been draws. Like that would have been, a fair result in both those games. So our home form has been good, and hopefully our home form will continue to be good. And maybe that home form will be great enough for us to get, maybe a point or 3 against a Liverpool or Chelsea. So hopefully, I mean, that's all we can have right now is hope. But yeah, thank you guys for watching the stream. I'm going to head out now. It's been a half an hour. We've been live for a half an hour. But yeah, performance-wise, I thought we were good. If you guys like the stream, make sure please like, comment, and subscribe if you are new. And yeah, I'll catch you all in the next one, which will be tomorrow. I'm probably going to make a video tomorrow. Actually, no, Premier League predictions. Premier League predictions will be tomorrow. And then we'll go through the goals for a video. And I'll talk about the goals the next day. So yeah, thanks for watching the video. Make sure you